Another controlling speech is talking about TikTok. I don't know if anyone has heard about a little app called TikTok, but it is the fastest growing and largest used platform, social media platform or app in the world. There's some real controversy around it because TikTok is actually majority owned by a company called ByteDance, which is a company in China. And as most big organizations there, they also have to be owned partly by the Chinese Communist Party. And the Chinese Communist Party have to have some of their members on the board. And so there is a lot of controversy with TikTok being mainly a Chinese Communist Party owned app that is controlling the rest of the world. And if you haven't heard about this, TikTok is a short form social media where it's 30 to 60-second videos. It's all just really short, spurts. People just get into this endless loop of going to, it's kind of, let's just say it's killing brain cells. There's actually been scientific proof that's shown that our attention span of people who use TikTok, their attention span has been drastically reduced. There's been studies around hormones like dopamine and serotonin release and how that's actually been affected, and they're deficient in both of those by using the app. And there's all this stuff like that. As well as there's controversy that obviously the Chinese government are using the app to spy, because there's actually code within the app that allows the app to actually see everything else that's on the phone, everything else that's on your computer, and it's been banned in governments across across America, been banned off government phones, government networks, and all that sort of thing. So Trump, a number of years ago, threatened to ban it, or he tried to ban it, because he knew how dangerous it is on two fronts. Number one is the national security, and number two, the effect it has on the users. It fell flat. That didn't go through, but now it's going through another stage. It's just had the Senate, a council, actually grill, I suppose is the right way to say it, the CEO of TikTok just this week, and ask them all the hard-hitting questions and try to get information out of them to try to ban the app. Talking about controlling speech, Dr. Rod, yes, there's free speech. Well, in America there is. In Australia, it's obviously it's assumed, but it's actually not a right. It's not in our constitution. But obviously there's this freedom of business, and you're free to use whatever you want to use and everything like that. But the government is stepping in, and sometimes we talk about the government having too much reach. This seems to be, I don't know, I'm kind of, I'm kind of in support of this, because it's like, yeah, this is damaging and this is national security. There is a certain point where mum and dad need to say no, right? Like, it's kind of like that. First of all, how do we figure out when is the right time for us to step in and externally control things that our followers, like for the benefit of our followers? And when should we, allow our kids to fall over and hurt themselves so they learn not to fall over? That kind of thing. Like how do we find that balance?
Well, it's not an easy thing to do, but I think in this case, you've got to go more broadly than simply free speech. On the face of it, yes, we should let TikTok and all of the other social media platforms continue, encourage more to develop, because they effectively become a digital public square where people can express opinions, form relationships, and so on. And at least superficially, that's a good thing, and that we should encourage freedom of speech. But of course, with the right also comes some responsibilities, and we do need to exercise our right to free speech responsibly. And that really, of course, raises lots of points of debate. But in this case, not only are there arguments concerning freedom of speech, and I know some who are against the banning of TikTok have already voiced that opinion, but there's also a national security issue as well. As you've already stated, there is recent legislation in China passed about 2 years ago that requires businesses to act or to work in the interests of the Communist Party, and that can include making available to the Communist Party the data that they gather in their everyday business.
Yeah, and
so
I'll jump in there. In the hearing, and links are below to articles and stuff like that. Actually, I will link. I'll try to link. I haven't put a link in there, but I will by the time we republish this. I'll put links to some of the hearings and stuff like that that of the CEO, and he's constantly asked, is information shared? And either he just avoids the question altogether. He says, oh, it was in the past, but it isn't now, or he just flat out lies. And you can just literally tell he's a terrible liar. Let's just say that. Like, he is a terrible liar, and you can see it all over his face that he's lying. That they are literally, they have full access to all the data and are actually sharing that data. And so it's not like with what you're saying, this law, it's not a hypothetical. Like it has actually happened.
It is law. And so TikTok and any other business that is a Chinese business has an obligation, enforceable at law, to hand over their data. So from a national security point of view, you can certainly see why many members of Congress would want to ban TikTok. My own position, to be perfectly honest, is that I think on balance, banning it is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But that will certainly upset a lot of young people in particular, because it is their social media platform of choice.
Yeah.
So there's a significant cost to this, and it is a cost. It is a cost. It's going to, at least in some ways, diminish human flourishing. And as Christians, we're about improving the state of human flourishing. So it's a difficult decision. I would have to say I did hear some of the hearings. I felt some of the questions were pretty stupid, maybe ill-informed, which doesn't help.
A lot of grandstanding.
And that part of the political process, but that it does annoy me, because I think it wastes valuable time and it diminishes the political process in the eyes of many people. But also, I felt that the CEO's responses, well, the best thing I can say about them is that they were evasive. And on that basis alone, I'd be inclined to ban TikTok, because I just don't think that his representations ought to be given much standing, shall I say, because I just felt he was extremely evasive.
Yeah.
And, when issues like this have come up in the past, the responses have been quite evasive then as well. So it's difficult. One should not take this lightly. I think the decision, and of course the decision hasn't yet been made as I understand it, but it looks as if they're heading in that direction. And as you've stated already, in the United States and the United Kingdom, and I think some other jurisdictions, TikTok has been banned from all government devices.
Yeah.
That's probably a wise thing to do. Look, there was a case in the United Kingdom where a Chinese vehicle used by a diplomat was found to have been bugged. Now, we don't know whether all motor vehicles made in China have bugs, but let's face it, they're full of electronics. They record a lot of information, and we just don't know. So, and bearing in mind too that the motor vehicle manufacturers in China come under the same laws of providing data. So it is a very serious issue, and it won't just be TikTok. There'll be other companies that come under scrutiny as well.
So you mentioned earlier about that there is an uproar and there's a little bit of resistance from younger people, and let's call them creators. That's kind of like the main
Yes, that's
argument.
right. It's content. Yeah.
We're creators, and so we understand that it's an important avenue for us to get our message out, and a lot of people are making a lot of money from TikTok. However, just because you make money from it doesn't mean it's worthwhile, right? Just because you're making money from it doesn't mean it's good for people, and doesn't mean that it is safe. And I think that they're talking to leaders, especially business leaders, you're going to face these things that legislation is going to change your business at some point. Legislation is going to all of a sudden, I mean, we've spoken about it before, but everyone knows the lockdowns. It was a government legislation pretty much worldwide that forced people to shut down. It changed people's businesses. Right or wrong, it's what happens in business. TikTok shutting down, there's a lot of people that make their money from TikTok. That's life in business. You need to adapt. You need to always be considering. You can't have, as they say, all your eggs in one basket. You can't have, like when we talk about this with our clients, when I teach my clients and set up all their marketing strategies with them, we can't just focus on one marketing strategy. And the example I give is you can't sit on a one-legged stool. You may balance there for a little while, but if that leg breaks, you fall flat on your butt. But if you've got a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-legged stool, the more legs you've got on it, the more redundancy you've got, that if one of those legs falls out, you're going to be stable on the others. And so if you're a TikTok creator and you're complaining that they're going to ban TikTok and it's going to cause you to lose your income, you don't have a business. That's not a business if you are just reliant on one single platform. That's why when we create stuff, we put it across all platforms. When we created our app for our leadership program, yes, free leadership development program, link below for both Android and Apple. When we created that, the decision was to invest the time and money to build our own app. So we are not controlled by another platform. I'm not controlled by another company. So I don't have all my eggs in one basket. It's not all controlled. If it doesn't work there, it's on a website. If it's like it's everywhere, and I'm in control of it. I don't have Facebook that'll automatically throttle my stuff or shadow ban any of my stuff, right? If they do that, it happens, and I just roll with the punches. Is it fair? No, but that's business. And we as leaders, of whether we're in business, whether we're leading an organization, leading a team, leading a ministry, we need to be well aware that legislation does change. Legislation changes, and in a moment could change your whole business. During COVID, churches I remember we weren't allowed to sing. And so your whole worship experience needs to adapt. You're not allowed to meet in person, like things like we need to be ready and adapt. And obviously talking about COVID, the people that were already set up with online options and things like that already, that weren't just reliant on their singular live in-person experience, they were the ones that flourished because they were already set up for it. So my challenge to you as a leader, looking at TikTok being banned in the United States, and possibly it could echo around the world, what are you doing to protect yourself from legislative changes? What are you doing to protect yourself from a major part of your business being taken away tomorrow? How are you protecting yourself? How are you innovating? How are you being creative? How are you building relationships? How are you building networks so that you're not just relying on one stream? That's my challenge to you. Dr. Rod, do you have anything else to share about the TikTok situation?
No, except to say I'm not an expert. I don't use TikTok. I haven't got time to look at 1,000,001 videos either, even if they are short.
I know, right? I know people that just
On
get
the wrong
caught in the
generation.
loop. I think I am too. We post on TikTok and actually get some really good views on there compared to our other platforms. It's amazing the reach we get there, but I don't consume it, and so I suppose that's the other side of thing. The other side of this is we actually need to control what are we consuming. What are we allowing the people we're leading to consume? What are we allowing them to be a part of? Because we do have a responsibility for those people we're leading. We do have a responsibility to call them out, to protect them. Sometimes it's advice. Other times it might be so dangerous that we just need to step in and say enough is enough. And wisdom, once again, going back to the advice Dr. Rod said before, is make sure you're taking the leading from the Holy Spirit as to when is the right time to do that. Hey, that was an excerpt from our On the Cube Leadership podcast. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, put a comment below. And if you want to see more content like this, faith-based leadership development content, make sure you check out our channel, give it a subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you'll be notified when we release new content.